So Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air because when you're part of that Democrat elite cabal, you get to fail upward, right? Everybody said he was canceled, he was being censored. He was back 72 hours later. But he's back on his show. He has drag queens coming on to read to young children. And we have a clip of this. I want to show you guys the clip and then get your reaction.
Do I scare any of you?
No. No.
Really?
You just look amazing.
Oh
Why would that be scary?
That is so affirming. Thank you so much. Would you guys like to read a book by President Trump?
Please.
Whoa, hold up. What about President Trump's least favorite son? Donald Trump is certainly unconventional. He's certainly not politically correct. He also has a heart of gold and is the greatest father a son or daughter could ever have.
Okay, I'm gonna stop you there. Instead of skipping this page, we should skip the entire book.
Okay, so Jayme, I want to come to you first. I imagine those kids were paid child actors. Shame on the parents, right? Nobody has an issue really with drag queens, right? You have Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. I love a good drag queen, but I miss when drag queens would just like dress as Cher or Madonna. But now there's this new push, right? Everything LGBTQ has to be pushed onto young kids, and it seems like this is a deliberate choice. I mean, ABC is owned by Disney. They have massive donors and DEI and ESG. Don't you think this is a very deliberate choice, Jayme?
These Democrats are never beating the groomer allegations, truly. I mean, it's so gross. And, you know, I agree if you link, it's a free country. I grew up outside of San Francisco, the Castro district. I think that's where, if you want to go to a drag queen story hour there as an adult, if that's your thing. Personally, it's not mine. I look at that and I'm like it's really gross. But this should not be involved with children. And truly, like, I kind of almost, this might be controversial to say, but this feels like a minstrel show for a woman. Like the way that they dress up with the fake big boobs and this over-exaggerated makeup and hair, I'm like, how is this not offensive truly to a lot of women? And I think it's so inappropriate to involve children in this, and it needs to end. Like, truly, I think there needs to be some laws against this. Like, stop doing your weird sexual fantasies with children in front of it. And I feel bad for these kids. I think you're so right. They've been exploited by their parents, and it needs to end.
No, it reminds me of Dylan Mulvaney, right? Who was sort of doing woman face and this sort of impression of a woman. And it's sort of like, oh, the feminist equality movement has gone so far that actually men are going to take the jobs of women now. Men are going to dress as women and then take those gigs in those roles now. But Thomas, it's interesting. I look at some of these polls and you see that LGBT acceptance has dipped a little bit. And I think part of the problem is now they're pushing a lot more men and women's sports, something they never did before. There's a lot more LGBT crap being pushed onto young kids. That's when people put their backs up against the wall and say, whoa, 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 whoa. We had no problem with gay marriage, love who you love, but now we have a problem. Don't you see that too, Thomas, or what do you think?
Yeah, I do. And I think you can easily trace this back to an organization called the Human Rights Campaign, which is based in DC with this huge skyscraper. And they did such great work in pushing for gay marriage to get approved in this country. You know, they put out a lot of work and they you know, really presented a good argument. And then they won. And it's the classic case of a charity. You know, the worst thing for cancer research to do is to cure cancer. The worst thing that happened to them is that they got gay rights. So all of a sudden they had this panic where it was like, well, what do we do now? Do we shut down this multi-million-dollar organization and leave our big skyscraper in DC and fire all our stuff? No. What should we do? Let's move on to trans issues. And that's exactly what has happened. And this is being pushed by so many people in this group because it raises money. They can still do their events. They can do these big swanky, you know, black tie events in LA and New York and raise money for it. So I think it really is sad that gay people have been caught up in this whole trans agenda. And also, I think if you go back to the Jimmy Kimmel thing with Trixie Mattel, who, you know, is actually kind of funny. I've seen some of her clips. She's quite entertaining. Or he, I don't know what you call him. But, you know, what it actually is sad is that it seems that the only way he could get onto Jimmy Kimmel was if he allowed himself to be used as a pawn in this, you know, indoctrination class. I mean, there's no way. He's a smart guy. There's no way he would think, yeah, I want to go on TV and lead a story hour with these children. That's obviously bad, but he wanted to get on Jimmy Kimmel. So, you know, and I think also it's so awful because you can almost picture behind the scenes these parents just foaming at the mouth that their daughter is so indoctrinated that she's spitting out these, the word of even the mention of President Trump, they all recoiled. These liberal parents, talk about indoctrination. Those children are so indoctrinated to have this fear of the president that it was actually quite sad to see, the girl at the back who was like, I'm going to stop you. They're like, what is this? It's awful. So I think the whole thing is sad, and I do think it actually seems to be wrapping up. I don't know if you saw the polls or the the report that trans identity is like plummeted. Like all the kids now are like, yeah, that's not a thing anymore. So I think hopefully it's over, but we'll see. We'll see what happens.
No, we'll have to see what happens. I think it is true that Gay Inc., they're looking for some new way to play the victim card, like the Human Rights Campaign, all of these nonprofits, and I use the word nonprofit loosely. They got gay marriage in 2015 with the Obergefell decision with the Supreme Court. So now they have to find something new. Like that was their mission for decades. We want gay marriage. We want gay marriage. Now they have to find a new grift and a new way to play the victim card. But Jayme, aren't you tired of it? Because even some of these trans people, they say trans rights are under attack in this country. No, you don't have a right to just identify as a woman and have carte blanche and entree into women's sports, women's locker rooms, women's spaces.
Well, what happened in this country too is we went from tolerance, and I think tolerance is a virtue that I think it's important in a country that has obviously a very diverse population and that we are a free country to have tolerance for other people's way of lives that might be different than yourself. So we went from tolerance to acceptance to now forced celebration, which is why you see on my street where I live that every June it's covered with pride flags, and I have to make sure to bring my own child around the block while a pride parade is happening because there's so much nudity. And I love that Thomas brought up the Human Rights Campaign, because I will say this, the Human Rights Campaign makes no sense, because if you're a Christian, like many people in the conservative movement, we believe that our rights come from God. So we believe in our Constitution that it is endowed by thy creator. I don't know where their human rights come from. Why do you have a right to be a woman? Like, where can you tell me where that right comes from? So when they are having this debate about rights, it doesn't really make any sense. Like, I'm like, where is this from besides the government? And I feel bad for a lot of gay people that are being trapped into this LGBTQ altogether, because being gay is very different than being a man who's now saying that you're a woman. Being gay is a real thing. That's a legitimate thing that exists. A man trying to become a woman, you can't become a woman. No matter what surgery you do, we all know this, you're never going to be a woman. And so I'm so sick of playing into this delusion. It's a mental illness, to be quite honest. And it's not something that we should be celebrating at all, and especially with kids involved and out in public. And a whole month link to celebrate LGBTQ. Like, how about we give veterans an entire month? It's just ridiculous. And I think there's a huge backlash to it. And I hope that, a lot of the gay people don't get caught up into this huge backlash that's now occurring in our society.
Absolutely. Okay, last word, Thomas. What do you think about this push to move LGB away from the T? Because trans folks, they say that who you love has nothing to do with your gender identity. So maybe there is a reason to sort of separate. What do you think about this new sort of argument forming online?
Yeah, I think it's definitely seems to be among sort of sensible gay people, that seems to be the way that everyone's going, because they see the damage that's being done. And I think any gay person sees a man in a wig walking into a woman's restroom is going to be like, what are you doing? Like, come on, like, it's so ridiculous. But, talking about the Human Rights Campaign, as you said, yeah, they needed to find something else to do. Well, I'm like, how about, these internationalists, they love the world. How about we go and start campaigning for rights in, some Islamic countries, or Iran, or Pakistan, or even India? How about we go and do that? But no, they had to shift to trans in America, because there's a lot more money to be raised in the United States than going out and trying to defend the rights of gays around the world. So I do think you're seeing a big divide between the so-called community, even though I don't ever think there was. Gay men and lesbians struggle to have anything in common, and then all of a sudden we're supposed to have, they're going to be best friends with these men in wigs. I think that was such a artificial push that happened, and hopefully you're seeing it really taper off now. And it seemed to be this huge rise. It seemed to be young women identifying as trans, because it sort of was like the new goth. It was like, what's the latest trend now? It's like, oh, I'm a 13-year-old girl at school and I'm not in with the cool kids, so now I'm going to be trans. And I think now people are realizing actually, like, it's not a thing. But the more dangerous part about it is that there was no doctors in the goth era saying, right, well, let's make you have eyeliner for life, whereas these scary doctors were coming in and cutting things off of children, and that is what made this whole movement really quite dark. So hopefully we're going to start seeing the end of this. I think, yeah, separate the two. There's nothing in common.
No, perfect way to end. Common sense is back. I'm so happy common sense is back. That's what really moved me to the Republican Party, is because the Republican Party became the party of common sense, and the Democrats were going crazy, 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 like the birds outside my window, if you can hear them. Let's talk about Peak, a luxury brand transforming wellness with the absolute best, rare and precious plants, cutting-edge ingredients, and formulations rooted in traditional wisdom. Their science-backed botanicals, minerals, and supplements support sustained energy, metabolic function, immune health, and radiant skin. Peak is proud to introduce Sun Goddess Matcha, an organic ceremonial superfood blend that redefines your daily routine. Crafted from the purest tea leaves, it provides a smooth, sustained energy for a calm mind and a radiant glow. The nutrients in their matcha can help curb sugar and hunger cravings, making it easier to stick to your wellness goals, and their matcha is 100% organic. Peak picks me up when I'm feeling under the weather, especially with the seasons changing. Unlock your healthiest glow and feel the difference. Get up to 20% off for life, a complimentary gift, and explore Peak's clean, pure ingredient wellness rituals at peaklife.com/link. That's PIQUE life.com/link.